This week, the September heatwave, good news from Ecuador, a breath of fresh air in London, and climate action from the bad guy, Billie Eilish. Welcome to the Earth Edit, where we make sense of the latest climate news and remind you that a greener future is possible. I'm Danny, and these are this week's hot headlines. And remember to like and subscribe for more episodes. First up, the heat wave in England and Wales is over. I like to think that I'm good with the heat, but I really struggled. We're actually going to film this episode in the middle of the heat wave, but I was going to be a sweaty, drowsy mess, so I am so happy we postponed it till now. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Isabel. The heat wave is the first time since records began that we had 6 consecutive days of temperature above 30 degrees in September. And it's not an isolated incident. The temperature is getting hotter. Last year was the hottest year on record in the UK. Some people might be thinking, I like the hot weather, what are you moaning about? The problem is, some people are especially vulnerable to the heat, especially the elderly and people with pre-existing medical conditions. Last year in the UK, there were almost 3,000 excess deaths associated with heat waves. Extreme weather across the world is only getting more frequent. And if we want to buck that trend, we need to phase out fossil fuels and instead keep them in the ground where they belong. Sometimes when we read or watch the news, it can just be so full of negative stories that it can just be really depressing. We at the Earth Edit are determined to bring you positive news stories, not just because it makes us happy, but there's just so much hopeful stuff going on in the world that we want to share with you. And the first thing is something that I'm really excited about from Ecuador. Ecuadorians have voted to stop oil drilling in Yasuni National Park, one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. After years of campaigning by the Yasunidos Collective and other groups, the government was forced to allow a referendum on oil drilling in the area of the Amazon rainforest, where several tribes live in voluntary isolation. And the local community didn't just win, they won by a thumping landslide. It's potentially the most decisive democratic victory against fossil fuels in Latin America and maybe even the world. This is a huge win for the climate, especially at a time when the UK government is turning oil and gas into a wedge issue to divide voters. What happened in Ecuador is a sign that when people are given a real say, they can say no to oil. There has been a political storm about London's ultra-low emission zone, otherwise known as ULEZ, which was recently expanded all across London to tackle air pollution in the city. It requires vehicles to meet certain emission standards and charges those vehicles that don't, thereby cutting harmful pollutants from our air. I don't know about you, but I do not love the smell of diesel fumes in the morning. Do you get the reference? The government is accusing London's mayor of waging a war on motorists. This is an awkward accusation, as it was the last mayor, Boris Johnson, remember him? Who first introduced the ultra-low emission zone, and it was the government in 2020 that initially recommended the first expansion of the zone. Regardless of the political tit-for-tat and point scoring, air pollution is a major killer, leading to up to 36,000 early deaths each year. And just like heat waves, it especially impacts the most vulnerable people in society, including children and older people. I can understand why some people have been reluctant about the new charge. Some people are reliant on their cars, especially in the suburbs where the low emission zone has been expanded to. And in a cost of living crisis, no one wants to face additional costs, especially those on lower incomes. The good news is that 90% of cars in London are already compliant with the scheme, and there's going to be a £110 million scrappage scheme to help people switch to cleaner cars. ULEZ has already cut nitrogen dioxide by half in central London. Now everyone in London will benefit. Ultimately, we all deserve to breathe clean air, and that's why the ULEZ expansion is a welcome change in the wind. American singer Billie Eilish is a self-professed bad guy. She claims that she's gonna make your mum mad, your girlfriend sad, and seduce your dad, but she's doing a lot of good for the planet. Recently, she ran her second annual climate event called Overheated in Shepherd's Bush in London. Packed with panel discussions, community building, and resources to tackle the climate crisis, Overheated brought together campaigners, artists, and entrepreneurs. We know how important it is to take action together and find joy in activism. So even though the world's a little blurry, or more accurately, in a full-blown climate crisis, we need more events like this that bring people together to take action. At Friends of the Earth, the UK's largest grassroots environmental network, we're on the ground fighting for a better world for all of us. Simply like and subscribe to support the work we do, and join us next time for the next Earth Edit.